this lecture, we will review the types of prostitutes and venues for sex work. This is a psychology course section in Human Sexuality. Prostitutes or commercial sex workers, also known as hookers, engage in partnered sexual activity or sexualized interactions in return for money, material gifts, or some other form of payment, such as drugs. As social critics have pointed out, some dating and living arrangements and also long-term relationships, including certain marriages, also fall in this category. Believe it or not, there are many different types of sex workers. Now, several types of prostitutes exist. At the bottom of the prostitution hierarchy are streetwalkers, also called street prostitutes, who typically find their customers or are found by their customers somewhere on the street. They then have a quick act of sex in the customer's car, in an alleyway, or other secluded spots, or even in a cheap motel. Although streetwalkers are the subjects in most studies of prostitutes, they in fact compose only about 1/5 of all prostitutes. The remaining 80% of prostitutes generally work indoors. Another is called a call girl. Call girls work as independent operators in their homes or fairly fancy hotels and charge a lot of money for their services, which include sex, but also talking and dining out with a customer. Their clients are typically businessmen or other wealthy individuals. Many call girls earn between $200 and $500 per hour, and some earn between $1,000 to $6,000 per hour or per session. Okay, another is called escorts. Escorts work for escort agencies, which often advertise heavily in phone books and on the internet. They may operate out of an apartment rented by their agency or come to the client's hotel room or another location. Although they may actually act as an escort to a dinner or show, typically their services include sexual acts. They too are generally well paid for their work, but do not earn nearly as much as the call girls because they have to give at least 30% of their earnings to their agency. Call girls and escorts rank at the top of the prostitution hierarchy. Below them, but above streetwalkers, are 3 other types of prostitutes. First, we have the brothel workers. Now, the brothel workers, as the name implies, are prostitutes who work in brothels. The only legal brothels in the United States today are found in several rural counties in Nevada, which legalized prostitution in these counties in 1971. Workers in these brothels pay income tax. Because their employers require regular health exams and condom use, the risk of sexually transmitted diseases in Nevada's brothels are somewhat lower. Massage parlor workers are another type of prostitutes. Now, as their name also implies, they work in massage parlors. Many massage parlors, of course, involve no prostitution at all and are entirely legal. However, some massage parlors are in fact fronts for prostitution. There, the prostitute masturbates a man and brings him to what is often termed a quote-unquote happy ending. A final category of prostitution involves prostitutes who work in bars, casinos, or similar establishments. They make contact with a customer in these settings and then have sex with them elsewhere. The lives and welfare of streetwalkers are much worse than those of the 5 types of indoor workers that I just spoke of. Many of the problems associated with prostitution are actually concentrated in street prostitution and much less evident in the indoor sector. And particularly, many streetwalkers are exploited or abused by pimps. And in my next lecture, we will go over pimps and madams in third party. Now, they use heroin or other drugs and are raped, robbed, and or beaten by their clients. A good number of streetwalkers also begin their prostitution careers as runaway teenagers and were abused as children. In contrast, indoor workers begin their trade when they were older and less likely to have been abused as children. Their working conditions are much better than those of streetwalkers. They are less likely to be addicted to drugs and have STDs. They are better paid, and they are much less likely to be victimized by their clients. Studies that compare indoor prostitutes with non-prostitutes find that they have similar levels of self-esteem, physical health, and mental health. Many indoor prostitutes even report a rise in self-esteem after they begin their indoor work. Now, studies of commercial sex workers find that the same person may work in several different venues over time. In my next lecture, we will review strip clubs, the various types, and also the role of third parties, to include pimps and madams.